right, welcome to the Game Changer Live. Here's what we're talking about today. We're talking about virtual assistants versus actual full-time assistants. This might really tick a lot of people off, but I'm okay with it. If you know me that I don't really care. I don't care. These are just personal opinions. So here's the scoop. We're asked this all the time. Now, in my organization, do I have virtual assistants? Yes, I do. So we use multiple virtual assistants. We have them. I'm going to share with you my experience. I'm not going to lie about any of the experiences. I'm going to tell you the truth about them. And I'm going to give you some warning tips. The other thing we also have is we have full-time operations assistants. So we have a lot of assistants because, well, we need a lot of help. Simple as that. As your business grows, you need to reinvest into leverage. That is how it works in coaching. If your business is successful and you feel like you don't have enough time to do everything, that is a good sign. Try not to hoard all the money, okay? So try not to be all like, I'm going to just like take all my money and I'm going to be like Ebenezer Scrooge and I'm going to sit on it all the time and I'm not going to reinvest into my business. A great business owner leverages out your business, okay? So always be looking at reinvesting into talent. Usually when we're feeling very overwhelmed, it is because we are one hire away from getting to that next optimal level, okay? So it's very important. I see a lot of people get very excited when they open businesses and then they wonder how everything went left or right, and I'm like, look, if you're really good at selling, then don't try to be your admin assistant, okay? Don't try to do the things that you suck at, all right? You just aren't good at them, and you should leverage them out. Do what you're good at, focus hard on that, and then leverage out anything that is under a certain wage that you know you should be leveraging out. So let's get down to turkey here. Virtual assistants, okay. Budget, okay? First thing I would suggest is this. What are you dropping the ball on? Okay, your biggest indicator of where you need to go is basically what are you dropping the ball on. If you're like me, I drop the ball on almost anything administrative. Okay, there's just like actually no spectrum for it. I am hardcore business, but I am like legit administration stuff. If you asked me how to change the email signature on my email, I would have no clue. I would have no clue. If you ask me to change my voicemail on my phone, no clue. There's things that I just don't do and I leverage out. So what you have to look at really is where you are in your business right now. So when people talk about hiring, you really want to look at having a budget of 12% to fixed costs, as we like to call them. So that means 12% reinvested into your administration hires, and that's the ceiling. If you start going over that, or if you have talent that, let's say, is more expensive than that, and you're like thinking, I don't want to hire a virtual assistant, but I'm going to have to because I don't have 12%, it's going to cost me 15%. What I would suggest is know the difference between VAs and actual employees or people in your organization, because here's the catch, and I'll get into this in a second, is that it's okay to pay 16%, but then what I would do is I would stick to a budget of fixed costs at 12%, and then I would build in 4% of bonuses structured out through the year. So this way, if your business, you're not in a position where, if like this year, if something happens in the industry that you're in, you're not stuck with this massive budget of payroll, because that will bankrupt you. So you want to keep it under 12%, and then if the talent requires more financial means than you have in your business currently, you can structure it as a quarterly bonus system. Okay, so that's a better, safer way to do it instead of thinking you have to go to VA. Here's the challenges with VAs, okay? There's two options with virtual assistants. Either you go with a company that calls themselves a virtual assistant company, or you can go with a project-based company. Like, I'll give you an example. My Task Virtual, Virtual Worlds, like all those kind of companies that are VAs, okay? They're virtual assistants. They are the ones who say that they can do multiple tasks for you. They step in as an assistant. You pay how many hours that they work with you per week. Usually the price point, we'll get into that in a second, is anywhere from like, low at like $7, $8 an hour to anywhere up to about $29, $30 an hour, okay? There's realms of virtual assistants that are paid hourly, okay? And we'll get into that in a second. There's packages. On the flip side, if you're looking at project-based virtual assistants, for example, if I want to have my Kajabi sites, my LMS sites, if I want to have them updated by somebody, I'm not going to necessarily need a virtual assistant for that. I may bring one on board if I choose to, but I may just want want project-based, okay? So I'm going to go to places like Upwork, UP Work. So Upwork is a great place to find talent for specific projects. If you want somebody to redesign all your social media online, Upwork is a great place for that. If you want to do some video editing, you may go to Fiverr. Fiverr is a great place to go for video editing and whatnot. So you want to look at project-based. I would go to those areas. They have far better yield of returns. The success and testimonials are all there. I strongly recommend those sites. I live off them sometimes. I'm just like, boom, 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 here you go, here you go, here you go. They've never really let me down. And the price points are outstandingly amazing. So if you're just looking for projects to fix, you know, let's say you need 16 different Excel sheets done up. Perfect, go that direction, okay? So, hey, Rasna, how are you? So if you're looking, okay, Rasa, maybe we have some for you, maybe not. We'll see. Anyway, so if you're looking, again, people who, and I say this like a lot, if you're looking at the two directions you want to go, the project, let's talk about VAs first. That project base, which is Upwork and other areas, Fiverr and stuff like that, very one specific area, okay? If you are looking at virtual assistant, okay, and you want to go with a package, 10, 20, 30 hours a week, here's some cautionary things. First thing you want to look at is, where are they? Okay, are they in the same country as you? Okay, are you expecting them to come out and make phone calls for you? What is your actual expectation? So pump the brakes for a second and write down all the things that you're going to want a virtual assistant to do for you. But the country is important. Now, I'm not, you know, I believe in a lot of B Corps and other Corp companies, and the reason why is because I really do think that some companies operating in other countries that might have a lower hourly wage, that's the whole premise of those VAs that operate in different countries. I always gut check to see, though, how do they treat the people in the other countries, okay? Because what I don't want to get into is I don't want to get into something where it's where the company is charging me $15 an hour and they're paying them $3 an hour. I want to really make sure, because I've seen problems happen with that. I'm a big believer if you're going to represent a third country or a third world country or a country that doesn't have the same level of security as our country, I want to make sure that I'm actually investing in helping the people on that side, that I'm not supporting something that isn't in alignment with who I am as an individual, okay? How do you do that? You do enough research. You talk to the VAs. You talk to people who use the VAs, okay? Very important how many people don't get references for these VA companies, and even references can also be tricky. So here's the thing, and then you want to ask, who do they have on ground from the country that you're currently in? So I'm in Canada. If I hire a VA company and that VA company operates, let's say, out of India, I want to know, is there a Canadian representative that I can speak to that currently is in India right now managing that whole VA department? How many VAs do you have? How many Canadians are there actually operating it? Because if you have an owner that, let's say, is in Canada and the entire staff is actually out there, and you're looking at that, that is one of the most important things that I would suggest that you look at. Okay, are they operating out there, or are they operating here in my country and there's absolutely nobody managing that? Why is that important? Because of this one point. When you're hiring a virtual assistant and that person is not in your city, okay, then you must, two things. One, be careful you do not lock yourself into a long-term contract. Go month to month. That is a very good indicator, and say, okay, month to month. Second thing is that you have to put in your contract. I have never seen it added unless I have requested it, which I have with our contracts. I've never seen somebody request that you want, after the probationary period of whatever, 30 or 60 days that you have with that individual, you are going to invest a lot of time training them. You need to have a clause in the contract from the company that you're hiring from that clearly indicates that they will give you 2 weeks notice. If there is any shift at all, you want 2 weeks advance notice for anybody leaving. Okay, it's the same thing. It's amazing how many people I've heard with virtual assistant companies that will say to me, all of a sudden the assistant disappeared or the assistant quit and now I'm behind. I got 2 weeks. I just spent all this time training somebody. Watch out for that. That is the #1 feedback that I could give you that is really, really scary. Okay, watch time zones as well. if you're going to be hiring a VA in a time zone that is completely opposite to your time zone, how is that going to work? Is the person working a full-time job in the daytime, or are they sleeping all day and they're working overnight? You need to get those questions answered right up front, and don't be afraid to put them into the contracts. But we see that often people won't put that 2-week clause in there that I really stress that you look for, okay? The other thing you have to remember, if you go with a small VA package, okay, there's 2 types of packages you can go. You can do one where we have a VA company that we only send in anything that we need to have edited, any documents that need to be edited, any PowerPoints that need to be created. And it doesn't matter. There's 16 VAs. Whoever picks it up, the instructions are there. We upload the file, and it's pretty much taken care of. That's a totally good setup for us. Would I get those people to do my payroll and other things? Not at all. Not at all. I would never use a VA, no matter what. I would never give a VA access to 2 things. I would never give a VA access to my social media accounts, nor would I give them access to any of my payroll accounts. Just wouldn't. If you're not in my city and you're not bonded employee of our organization, you're not going to get access to those 2 areas in our companies. Not going to happen. I have heard many stories about personal information being taken, or this, that, or social media getting shut down because it's not in the same country that's posting and things like that. So we've heard many different stories with that. So when you're looking at the actual bulk hours that you're looking at for VAs as well, you want to really be watching and just saying, okay, if you're hiring somebody for 10 hours a week, you got to be really diligent with the tasks. Most VAs only at 10 hours a week are going to be task oriented. So how do you know if you need a VA or do you need an assistant? Okay, if you need a VA, it is predominantly task oriented. That means that you're giving them a schedule of things that need to be done consistently, and you're saying for 10 hours a week, these are where your 10 hours a week will be allocated. They will be doing these things. If you are looking at hiring, and now this is for most VAs, there are very specific other VAs that we'll cover in a second, but these are generalized VAs. If you're hiring a general VA company that's hourly per week, then you need to have a structure for them that says this is what you're going to follow. You need a communication system. What is the method that we're going to communicate? That should be in the contract. We prefer to use Asana. Some people like Trello. Some people like Monday.com. Again, communication structure is critical as well, okay? The other thing is that you have to look, are you paying an onboarding fee? Okay, that is not a fee you should be paying. Okay, so if any VA company comes to you and says it's $500 to do setup, ask them what the setup is. I'd like to know what the setup is. What is the setup for $500? If there's no setup, then you know, what are you paying $500? Those are blanket fees that are sometimes just charged just because if they can get 10 new clients, $500 setup fee, we don't question it ever. We just go, oh, well, that's a setup fee. Perfect. Well, we onboard 800 coaching clients. We don't have a setup fee. So I don't understand. And we're doing a lot more to set everybody up, including, like, I can tell you all the things we do. So the setup fee is kind of interesting. I'm just going to take a look here. What are the tasks of paying, what about the task of paying bills? Would you give that to a VA? No. Like I just said, I personally, I just said that. Like, that's exactly what I said. Nobody should be giving a virtual assistant that is not in your city access to your bank statements, your bill payments, or your social media accounts. Shouldn't be done, okay? A virtual assistant should really be task-oriented on things that cannot shut your system down. We had a client a week ago who lost all their social media. Why? Because the person was posting from another country and it got flagged, and then the posts were inappropriate, and that person disappeared. It was gone, and the social media account was 7 days of being blocked, okay? So that wasn't good. Now, that's not every VA. It's just some good advice. Like I said to you, I'm telling you some of the experiences we've seen in coaching, okay? Now, if you're going to go industry-specific virtual assistants, understand you're going to pay a lot more, okay? So if you're in real estate and you want somebody to handle transactions all the time, no problem. Okay, understand something though. That is going to be probably a more localized VA, so it's not going to be from a different country. They usually will be within your own city or at least province or state. Okay, so somebody who is familiar, and also the price point will often be higher in that category because it's very niche specific, the quality is outstanding, and people gawk over paying those VAs a lot of money. They gawk at it. They go, I don't want to pay $29 an hour when I can hire somebody full-time for 21. And then I say to them, I go, here's the thing though. They're so niched and skilled that they can actually get the job done 10 times faster than anybody else can. So actually, they're so niche that they can do the documents in half the time. So really, they're not 29. They're more like $15 an hour because that $21 an hour person takes an hour to do it. This person takes 30 minutes to do it, okay? And that's the number one thing that's important. That's what you really want to look at, okay? Is can they do the job faster? And that's why you pay more for it. It's done faster, it's done better, they can pump it out, and they're very niche specific. They are worth their money in gold. Okay, they usually have excellent systems, they usually have great communication, and they are on. Now we are seeing a ton of those pop up. It is a huge industry trend right now to see almost every industry has very specific VAs. I love that. What are they good for? They are good for your interim of getting used to going, I'm here, and I need to generate a little bit more income for me to feel comfortable hiring a full-time assistant, okay? Now, do you go that route or do you hire a part-time assistant? I'm a big believer that if you're looking at a part-time assistant, you should also be looking at maybe localized, specialized VAs. Your goal is to eventually, if you're in business building mode, you eventually want to build a business. So eventually you're going to have to run the numbers and figure out how long is it going to take me to get up to 12% or at least to a point where I can fall within that so I can afford to pay somebody full time. If you're stuck kind of in that matrix period, you've got to really look and say, okay, do I need a VA for tasks? Okay, in which case, that's when you go to those. You can pick any party you want. Be like, do you need 10 hours, 20 hours? If you're task oriented, stick to under 20 hours a week, okay? Those companies are perfect for you. We have one right now that we use, and it's 20, we got 20 hours a month. It's the one I was telling you, they're just random. So we just send documents to them. There's nothing. If we have a PowerPoint presentation, we'll write some edits down, flip it out to them. It's gone. It's done. Okay. We like them. I like them personally. They've done great work for us. So, and it's $20 an hour. They're located in India, and it costs me $200. It's $10 an hour. Okay, I like it. It works for me. And we definitely fill them up with 20 hours. And we negotiated with them that if we don't use the 20 hours, this has to be in your contract. If you don't use the 20 hours, it is cumulative. Most places, if you don't use the 20, it's scrapped. You lose it. And that's where they bank on getting some extra funds from you. So make sure that you actually put that into your contract as well. It's a great tip. Okay, so that's why I would suggest if it's task oriented, go to a VA niche specific if you feel you're on that borderline of needing a part-time assistant or a full-time assistant specific to your niche, go in that direction. Remember, a full assistant should be an empire builder for your organization. A real full-time assistant should be building your operations, making your business more efficient. Now, should you hire somebody because now we're virtual? Sure, you're still going to have some issues, like meaning nowadays you can pretty much operate an assistant anywhere. But the truth is that in order to get to that point of deciding, you may have an assistant right now, a full-time assistant, and be going, you know, what do I need here? Do I need a VA? Maybe I should add, you know, a task-oriented person. Just look at your budget and make that decision. Say, I've got a full-time assistant right now. I do too, but we have VA companies. So we have a virtual assistant company and we have a task-oriented company as well. We have success with both of them. I've had tons of lack of success with other ones. Very much if they're not willing to put that 2-week clause in, I won't sign up with them. If they need me to be on month to month, I'm okay with that, but I will not sign a 1-year contract with a VA company. It will never happen. And mark my words, I don't care what company it is. One of the things, yeah, it's on 12% gross income, Rasna. So one of the things that you really want to look at is when you're hiring these people, get testimonials. Testimonials. Don't scrap it. Just because it's a VA company and has a pretty website, watch for that, okay? Listen, I'll tell you right now, I mean, there's a million filters out there in general. So, I mean, what you're seeing is not what you're going to get. Do the work, do the testimonials, reach out to them, have the conversations with people and say, hey, you know what? I want 3 testimonials before I talk. I did that. I asked for testimonials and the person's like, man, you're like really making me run through the mud here. And I'm like, I am. I did the testimonials and guess what I found out? They had no testimonials that they can give me with anybody who had used their services longer than 3 months. So if you have nobody that's used the services for more than 3 months, what is that telling me? So I asked the person, I said, can I have somebody that's used your services for 1 year? Your company's been around for 10. Where's the person? All the Google reviews were great. You know, the Facebook sites were great. Everything was great. But I said, where are all the people that used you guys for a year or more? They didn't have them. And he's like, well, you know, those clients. And I said, no, listen. And then ask the question, how many VAs do you have? So again, there are countries like, let's use the Philippines, for example. Highly skilled individuals operate out there. Some massive corporations operate out in the Philippines. So I'm not against that at all. I think that's an amazing place to have virtual assistant companies, but follow the rules. Who do they have on the ground that you can speak to that is in our country, Canadian? I'm Canadian. I want somebody to know that they're managing them there. I don't want to have nobody there because then there's issues. Okay, I want to know how they treat their employees. I want to know if the person that I'm getting is going to be happy, and I want to ensure that if I train the person, that I'm not going to spend, you know, going to be high and dry if that person just disappears. Okay, so there's a lot of other things that you really want to think of too. So again, you have multiple directions. Keeping in mind, am I ready for a VA or not? Don't have expectations up to here. Virtual assistants, in my opinion, are like pit stops to get you from A to B or to fill a spot in your company that you're kind of like going, I don't, like, these are not tasks that require a lot of overseeing, that they can just be like a newsletter. If you have to do a newsletter every month and that newsletter, well, that's easy. I wouldn't go probably to a VA. I would probably go to Upwork and I would type in newsletter specialist. Boom. And I'd line it up and I'd be like, listen, how much is it going to cost to put you on board? Once a month, I need a great newsletter created and designed for our company. Well, it's going to cost $300 a month. Ooh, perfect. Big deal. I know how many hours. It takes 10 hours approximately every month to create a newsletter for a company that is really good. Okay, a nice digital version is about 10 hours a month to create excellent content and curate and do it beautifully and get it sent out. That means that person, if they're charging $300, let's say that person is going to be about 30 bucks an hour. So I got to look at my team and go, do I have 10 hours a month to be paying somebody in my organization to do it or not? You know, is this a good Band-Aid? Maybe the person can set it up and we can follow through with it after 3 months. There's different things that you really want to look at and what they bring to the actual table, okay? Be careful because sometimes you can have an assistant in your company and you can say, okay, you know what, I've got an assistant here, and you put on a task like cleaning up a PowerPoint. Doesn't even make sense that I would put my head admin cleaning up a PowerPoint. Makes no sense whatsoever. I want my head admin to be focused in on the most important operational tasks. So when are you actually ready for a VA? Either when you've got overflow of things that just aren't applicable for all the team members you have and the cost efficiency is just not there, or if you're in the stepping stone phase where you're like, I'm falling behind on so many things, I need to get caught up, so I'm going to bring on a VA for about 6 months, get all caught up in all of the things that need to be caught up on, and then I'm going to be able to go move forward and reinvest into hiring. Would I use a VA as my only source? Not in a million years. That just wouldn't happen. And again, what do we do with our social media team? We refer that out. Okay, so we actually have a social media team that we work with that is custom designed just for us. And again, we're looking at different options with that too right now. You know, we're writing a lot of checks for that. So we're looking and saying, does it make sense? You know, if we want to up our game, how do we do this? Do we need to bring on somebody else? And the truth is we are looking at hiring a virtual assistant. Again, though, this is a totally different area. This is niche focused, so it will be a higher price point to bring this person on. This person will be Canadian because they have to know how the Canadian social media laws work, and they have to know the unsubscribe and the subscribe and everything else like that, so I can't take any chances, and I bring them on board. Somebody asked me the other day, what about virtual assistants to do calling? Now, that's a little bit of a segue into something else, so I'm not going to cover it too much. I'm going to wrap up with this. If you're looking at virtual assistants to do calling for you, test the crap out of it. Like, I'm talking like test it until you feel that they have sold you on everything that they're doing, okay? So if you're hiring somebody to telemarket and you're hiring that virtual assistant because you're like, they're only $7 an hour and man, that's great. It's still money, okay? If you're going to... I shouldn't laugh. I was going to say, if you're going to hire me, if you're going to hire me to do a task for you that I'm not good at, and there's a lot of things. Like if anybody knows me, I couldn't shoot a basketball if my life depended on it. Like I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know. Like is that even right? I'm not really sure, but it feels like I just did. I don't even know why this happened, but it just happened. So if you're going to hire me to shoot hoops for you, I'm going to sit there and I'm going to be like, okay, great. It doesn't matter if you pay me $2 or $20. There's no way I'm going to be able to effectively shoot hoops for you. Why? I hate it. I don't want to do it, and I suck at it. I really just don't, and I don't have any passion for it. So here's the scoop. If you're going into somebody else and you're going, you better test me and say, before I pay Marianne to shoot hoops for me, I got to take a look. What is she doing? Show me how you shoot hoops. They're going to see in 5 minutes that paying me any money to shoot hoops is the worst investment of your money and your time that you can possibly imagine. So anyway, but long story short, if you want me to work hard and go exercise and do everything and hit great numbers, I can do that for you. But the point is that if you're going to hire a VA to do work that you don't like doing, like calling and stuff, test. You get the testimonials for the VA work that's going to be in your company, but tell them, call me. I want to hear what you're going to do. See how they respond to emails. Everything should be outlined. So my best tips and advice really is that VAs can be great for your business. There's different levels that you can do. Don't be afraid to pay more money for a VA that is very niched on your business and your field. If they're local, they're generally very much worth it, and they can do work a lot faster than somebody else. And then on the flip side too, there are multiple areas like Upwork and Fiverr, and Rasna pointed a few out of them out here as well, where you can actually go and hire them as well. But they generally are a good stepping stone. And if you find that your fixed costs are going over your 12% of the gross income that you make, pump the brakes a little and really look at your return of who you're hiring. Okay, so I hope you guys love this. Thank you for staying tuned as long as you did, and we'll post this video in our video section. If you have any other questions, just reach out to me. I'm happy to help. Bye guys.